Hey everybody, welcome to the Foolish Canuck podcast. This is episode number 12, an In the News edition, and I'm joined, as always, with the lovely Katie. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm not doing too bad. It's been an interesting beginning of the week, but, we're getting into it. I hope everyone that's listening is having a lovely beginning of the week. If you're in Canada, I hope the election worked out the way you wanted it to work out, though according to every fucking post I see everywhere, it didn't work out for anybody, so I don't know who voted for what, but, happy second last week of October, everybody.
Yeah, Halloween soon.
Halloween's very soon. Next week, in fact.
Yes.
A week and a day away.
Thank you for the specifics.
Well, sometimes people, they say they like the specifics. We like to give it to them, like, right in there. If you guys hadn't heard it, we did an election special. There's absolutely no reason now to go back and listen to it, but if you wanted to, you totally could. And we talked about some of the issues. That was fun, right?
Mm-hmm. And they'll hear us talk. I mean, that's a good reason to go back.
Absolutely. There's also a weed episode that I did when we had the anniversary of the legalized weed here in Canada. That's an exciting episode. You should go back and listen to that. We're just trying to spread the word about the podcast and get some new listeners. So if you've listened to some of the previous podcasts and you like them, be sure to share them with your friends and help us out. And, we're on Twitter at Foolish Canuck. If you want to send us some messages, some love, some questions, whatever it is, you can do that on the Twitter. And you can visit our website at foolishcanuck.com for all kinds of information. And then you can contact us there as well. And at the bottom of the page, there's a little link, and you can find out how you can support the show, should you feel so inclined. Is there anything else I should say?
No, I think you covered it.
Think I covered it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I was going to say something about dick pics, but I'm not going to.
You want people to send dick pics? I don't know if you can send dick pics on Twitter.
I don't know. I don't know if I want people to.
And I don't
put those words in my mouth.
I'll put some in your mouth.
Easy.
We just started the podcast.
Yes.
All right, we'll roll it back a little bit. If this is your first time listening to the Foolish Canuck podcast or one of these in the news podcasts, basically what we do is throughout the week or whatever couple weeks, we try to do this every week. Sometimes it works out that way, sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is, life. But basically, I accumulate a bunch of different news stories that I come across that I find funny, interesting, intriguing. I try to stay away from like the bigger stories, politics, Trump.
That's about it.
Yeah, but I don't know. We do some stuff that's kind of environment related, but I don't want to talk. We're not going to get into the Greta conversation. Or anything too big. It's supposed to be light. That being said, I think we've had dead babies on every fucking podcast so far. I don't have dead babies today, so I can promise you all that. I don't. Oh no, there is a dead person. But anyway.
Oh, okay. No babies.
No babies though. Basically, it was like the idea for the podcast was because I was coming across a lot of these ridiculous stories. Like one of the stories that I'd come across, this is like several years ago, but it kind of inspired this. It was about a man in Mexico. He was trying to fly and he got arrested with trying to smuggle 17 monkeys in a girdle. So that was the headline. Man arrested for smuggling 18 monkeys in a girdle. And all the questions were just raised in my brain. But I didn't want to read the story, partly because I didn't want to, the story wasn't going to be as great as the thought in my head, because you obviously don't start with 17 monkeys, which means this man's done it before, and either they were just getting up to 17, where's the limit? 16, no problem. 17, he got caught, the tail was hanging out or something,
All right.
But it was in that spirit of where I was like, I want to find some of these kind of articles. And then we've found some weird ones. We've talked about some odd stuff, and then some quasi-political, not political, but I guess socially political stuff where I think it was the people getting overly offended and stuff like that, and gender, and we went into a lot of stuff though in the last one of these podcasts. I think we talked about race and gender and went
gun
on a
control
whole,
or something.
Yeah, gun control. There's a little bit of everything. So though we try to not touch on stories that are about these topics, a lot of these topics tend to find their way in because, it's the world we live in today. We're bombarded with this stuff, and that's just kind of how it happens. But that being said, the first story that I have for us today is in the true essence of what I wanted to do with the In the News segment. And I saw this and I got really happy. I was like really excited about doing it, and that's why it's gonna be our first news story today. So I came across this headline, and again, this was one of those things. I've read the story, but I really didn't want to because I was like, I'm afraid this isn't gonna be as great as this fucking headline, and it wasn't, and it was. Anyway, we'll get into it. But this is the headline: 2 Amish men escape police after being pulled over for drinking and driving their horse and buggy.
What?
How do you drink and drive a horse?
Is the horse drunk?
That's my question. If the horse is drunk, absolutely. But if the horse is sober, isn't not he the one in charge?
Yeah, he's the designated driver. He's the designated horse.
Yeah, I also didn't realize Amish people drink. I didn't think they drank.
Maybe, do they drink?
I know there's a period of time, I forget what it's called, but every Amish person growing up, they have like this, like, I forget if it's like a year or two where they're like released into the wild and they're allowed to go out and be heathens essentially. And the idea is, if they come back, they're good Amish because all that was bad for them. And now they know what to, fear, tell the young ones what to fear. Anyway.
I wouldn't go back.
I probably wouldn't go back either. Though what do I know? Maybe it'd be a nice life, right? Not having to deal with fucking what happened on Monday with the fucking Twitter or the Facebook, and I spend an hour of my fucking day bitching at someone that I'm like, why am I bitch? I'm not going to change anything. Like, what does it matter? But it still took time. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you can listen to episode 11. And I think I just bitched for like half an hour about wasting my day on social media. Anyway, so yeah, 2 Amish dudes, they get pulled over for driving their fucking horse and buggy drunk, but they escape.
And it's not really drive. It's like steering them.
Yeah.
They're not driving.
Like, how much damage can really be had? Like, are you running many people over? Hang on. If you get ran over by a horse and buggy, it's kind of your fault. It's
natural
like
selection.
Yeah, it's kind of like being ran over by a Zamboni. It probably shouldn't happen.
Oh, man.
All right, so 2
And they escape.
Yeah, then they escape. So here's the story. Picture this. 2 Amish men drinking alcoholic beverages while operating a horse and buggy. They're operating a horse and buggy. Carrying a 12-pack of Michelob Ultra and outfitted with a giant stereo system. I love these Amish people. I want these guys to be my friends.
A stereo, like a boom box?
A giant stereo system.
So like maybe like one of those old school boom boxes that you could put like the D batteries in, but you needed like 12 of them just to get an hour out of it.
Well, they're Amish, so it's got to be that or one that you like fucking crank.
Or solar powered.
Solar
maybe
powered,
they've advanced.
No, it's very possible. It's very possible. You jump a step, right?
Yeah.
It's not something you see every day, but the Turnbull County Sheriff's Department in Ohio say that's exactly what they witnessed during a routine patrol in the county's Amish community. So they routinely patrol the Amish community. Deputy Eric H. came across the men while on patrol in the early morning of September 15th. When he attempted to stop and question them about drinking and driving, they leaped out of the buggy and disappeared into the woods by the side of the road, according to the police report. Meanwhile, the horse pulling the buggy also took off. The horse knew what was up. They're like, oh, we got to go. They're going that way. We're going this way.
Yeah.
But the cop cut up to it. But the men were gone. So they like abandoned their horse and buggy. They're like, fuck this. We're out of here. Definitely not a routine stop, the police say. They turned the horse over to a local farmer until the 2 men came forward. The sheriff's department has attempted to call different people to pick up the horses, but no one has answered the phone, according to report. The 2 men could be charged with failure to comply with the deputy's demands. They also said drinking and driving laws still apply to the buggy, even though it's pulled by a horse and not licensed. Maybe there's just a fear of consequences, and once a reality check sets in, they'll turn themselves in. That's what they're hoping, I guess. So they're encouraging the 2 men to come forward and retrieve their horse and buggy.
If they, never mind. I think what I'm gonna say is not nice.
But it's like, I think it's amazing that they left their horse and buggies behind. Like, they're clearly not cowboys. A cowboy wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But maybe they have lots of horses and buggies.
I'm just picturing like the sketches of these 2 guys that they're looking for, and going to where the Amish live, and like they're all gonna look the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Big hats, sideburns, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, long beards,
Mm-hmm.
no mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I love this story. I just love that. I think it's fucked up they got pulled over. Completely,
Yes.
honestly, like just let drunken men ride a horse. They're not even riding the horse. The horse is doing all the work.
Can you get pulled over if you ride your bike drunk?
Your bicycle?
Yeah.
I think so. But like I do it all. I've done it all the time. I've passed cops too, but I don't know. I'd assume it's illegal. But I guess it's not illegal to ride your wheelchair drunk, like one of those one of those like from
Yeah.
like a rascal.
Yeah.
Do you think you're allowed to ride that around drunk?
Well, yeah. I think then it turns into like your a mobility issue, right?
But you're still a risk to other people on the sidewalks, aren't you? If you're drunk and you're like meh, 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 bumping into shit. I wouldn't tolerate that.
I want to see that though.
A drunken person. I'm sure it happens. We just have to go hang out in Vanier for like a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys aren't from Ottawa and you're listening to this, Vanier is like a druggy area
Mm-hmm.
of the city. A lot of prostitutes, a lot of drugs, a lot of French people down on their luck.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely don't get the "you're doing all right" tax.
They do not get the "you're doing all right" tax. No, and I think they're trying to move the homeless shelter to that part of town too,
Yes. Yeah.
just to add on to the loveliness of it. Anyway, my hats are off to these guys. I hope they don't get turned in, and I hope they don't find them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for the horse and buggy, but you know what? Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, someone's going to just end up with 2 new horses and a new fucking buggy,
Yeah.
and everyone wins.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
I don't think this is something that the Ohio taxpayers need to worry about too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But I'm really happy that headline existed because,
Yeah, it was a good headline.
drunken homeless. So this one, we always have like a bit of an animal. I think we have 2 animal ones in this, but this is a pet one. And like you hear these stories all the time, and I'm not going to read the whole story because we'll know the gist of it the moment I read the headline. But I always, because I came across another one the other day. I didn't save the link for it, so I don't recall. But it was something like another 4 or 5 years. But Thunder Bay man reunited with lost dog after 4 years and 700 kilometers. So this dog just went on a fucking walkabout for 4 years. And so he's in Thunder Bay, and they ended up finding the dog somewhere in Manitoba. And because the dog was chipped, but no one, the dog never came across other humans in those 4 years where they like captured it or whatever, right? Or were in a position to chip it. It was the same thing with this other dog. This other dog, the family was in Florida, and they found the dog here in Ontario.
Jeez.
Like that's a fucking, that's a hell of a trek. It's amazing. Animals are fucking, like I get really, like I would not like I'm anti-outdoor cat to a certain degree, to a large degree. But when you see things like this, well, obviously they got lost, like they didn't come home. But it's just fucking awesome. It's just that resilience, like the emotional roller coaster that would send you on as an owner. Like you'd obviously have to mourn them and all that, and then they're back, and you're like, fuck. And like in this guy's case, he already had 2 new dogs, and now he's like his old love's back, but he's created these new relationships with these new dogs, and it creates this whole awkward situation, I would assume.
Oh, do you think that dog's like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have come back? Or well, he was found though.
Yeah, he didn't choose. He wasn't like, all right, you know what, this is 4 years has been a good time. I'm gonna head back home now. This has been good. Okay, Thunder Bay that way. Okay, that's what the sign says. All right, we're going.
Yeah. Bill, who are these 2 new animals?
This guy's name is Mike, but close.
Well, you didn't read that part.
Yeah, I didn't read the article. We just summarized it. We're going to do this with some of these because I've found, I listened to a couple of in the news, and sometimes the reading can get tedious.
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we need to read this one.
That's what I said. I'm not reading it.
Oh, okay, good.
We went through the story.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
we're on to the next one.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next one.
I see how this goes now.
Well,
1,
not
2, 3.
Not all of them, but you know. So this one I included because we had I forget exactly what it was, but we've talked about children a little bit before. And this one, so the headline is actually changed from the one that I had, and then so I had it and I saved it, and then I saw like there was another story about it, and so I saved that article. But now there are two different websites, but they're just both coming up the same article, which is the updated version, which is probably accurate, which is like, what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
But the story was about a police officer arresting and fingering, bad choice of words, fingerprinting a 6-year-old girl for having a temper tantrum at her school.
Okay.
So they came into the school, they handcuffed this poor little child, this 6-year-old, and then fingerprint her and treat her like, a criminal.
Yeah.
To which I was like, that's sickening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is this okay? And so I'm reading this story. I'm like, this is really fucked up. Anyway, the officer got fired.
Yeah. How did the officer even know to go?
To the school? Okay, well, that's the thing. It's a school called... So there's levels of fucked uppery here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the school called the police department on this child who was having a temper tantrum. Like, I don't know, call the parents first. Just, be an educator, be someone who deals with children.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny thinking of this in the moment. It's like when I brought Wolverine to the vet when he cut himself. And so, like, my cats, I don't declaw my cats, and I don't trim their nails all the time unless they need it. I like my cats to have claws. They're cats. They're supposed to have fucking claws, right? I don't mind getting a couple nicks and scratches. Plus, they don't generally nick or scratch me unless they get frightened. But when I took him into the vet, I went to the vet. I'm like, oh, be careful. He has claws. And she's like, yeah, we deal with animals. They have claws. Just like you work in a school, you deal with children, young children. If she's 6, they're going to have temper tantrums. You should know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I guess unless she was causing harm to other people or herself, then you would call the police.
Yeah. Well, she kicked a staff member.
Okay.
So I'm just recapping here in my mind. Yeah. Anyway, I've hit a teacher. They didn't handcuff me.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's just... so anyway, I'll read the story. A police officer was who arrested 2 6-year-old students at a Florida elementary school last week has been fired. The girl wasn't sleeping well because of a medical condition and kicked a staff member Thursday. She says the school resource officer then handcuffed the girl and took her to a juvenile detention center. So, again, I'm an adult. If a 6-year-old kicks me, it's not a threat to my life or my well-being or is presumably going to hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or any adult, for that matter. Maybe if you're a frail adult, it might sting you a little bit, but then you call another capable adult over and they'll deal with it. This young child, and this is a black child. Granted, the officer was a black man as well. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate, and I could see him going, well, if I do this, and she'll learn to behave, and like it's a learning moment, right?
Yeah.
But in the United States, this is a very, like, you've ruined any trust that you may develop with this child, with the police, because of this. Like, ruined. Like, she's not going to trust police, and you already have an issue with that in the United States. Yeah. It's so fucked up. It was just so fucked up that I'm like, how would you, like, what if your son had a was 6 years old at school and had a temper tantrum? What would you expect the school to do?
To call me and see if I can come in and help, or that they would contain the situation until I could get there.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, it's not really a funny story. It was more of one of those, like, I thought this was really fucked up, and I was curious to see what a mom had to say about it.
Oh. Yeah, no, I agree. It's fucked up and a little extreme.
Little excessive, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking... Well, so on that note, so that was very unheroic. With there was no one there for that girl, right? And then, so on the flip side, I actually, I ended up deleting this article, so it's not here on the list. But I'm thinking, it would have been really relevant here. There was a motorcycle accident. I think it was somewhere in the United States. I forget exactly where, and biker gang motorcycle accident. A woman. It was passerby, saw what was happening. She was a nurse, ran over and immediately started helping the wounded and saved several of these people's lives, right? Yep. Her daughter had a lemonade stand, and no one came to her lemonade stand, and she made a post on the Facebook, and the biker gang was like, have the lemonade stand there tomorrow. And every single biker showed up and bought, lemonade, made this girl's day. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, you have these people, and you hear that with a lot of these motorcycle gangs doing shit like this for children. And I'm like, that's what you should do. Or like, if a children's fucking up, there's another story that I didn't take the article from. I should have, but anyway, I didn't. It was, you might have heard about this. This happened just this week, or just at the end of last week. There's a kid at a high school in the United States with a shotgun. And the coach comes by, or the gym teacher, and sees him and takes the shotgun away from the kid and puts it on the floor and then hugs the kid. There was no force, there was no aggression, and he gave that kid probably what that kid needed. It was a fucking hug, right? And it's like, that's how you deal with troubled kids. I bet you if someone just gave that child a hug, that situation would have diffused. Like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Let me give you a hug. And if she keeps panicking, like, hold her until it's done. You hear about these heroes. There's a woman in we might have actually talked about this on the podcast. There's a woman at a Disney resort with an autistic kid.
Yes, yeah.
Who lied down with him because she wasn't like, the family didn't know what to do, and she was just one of the people working at the store, and she knew, okay, you know what, let's let him have his moment, and she was a hero to that child. So I guess we just need some more heroes in the world. And on that note, not all heroes wear capes, right? Some people gotta help the children out, and then other people. Speaking of that guy taking the gun away from the high school student in where did this happen? I think this was in New York. Good Samaritan takes gun from robber on the Blue Line train. Not only did he take this gun from this robber on the train, afterwards he ran a fucking marathon.
Alrighty.
So new video shows the moment a Good Samaritan disarmed a robber on a CTA Blue Line train Sunday morning before the Chicago Marathon. So it was in Chicago. As the train stopped at a Cumberland Jean-Paul Lapierre... Oh, sorry. I was reading that like there wasn't a comma in there. As the train stopped at Cumberland, Jean-Paul Pierre stepped off and asked for another commuter while the marathoners seemed to be rushing for the doors. I said, this doesn't seem like the right way, he said. No, there's a guy on the train walking around right now robbing people with a gun. And he's like, that kind of made me mad. This is what Lapierre said. So he decided to head back onto the train and confront the man entirely on his own. What happened next was caught on video by a passenger still on the train. Lapierre grapples with the robber and holds him against the side of the train, pulling the gun from his hand in the process. The suspect yells at him to let him go, but he refuses. I'm not letting you go. I'm not letting you go. I'm not letting you go. You can hear him saying in the video. In town from the Boston area, where he runs a storage facility, the 54-year-old said he's used to tough guys. Golden glove boxing in his youth armed him for this encounter, he says. I don't know about that, but he goes, I'm a boxer. I'll break your head in one punch, he said in the video. A marathon runner who was threatened moments earlier said she's thankful that man was there. He didn't hesitate to step in at all. It was incredible to see because everyone else just sat there frozen, she said. After pulling the gun from the alleged robber's hand, Lapierre handed off to another passenger. He said the man had friends on the train who tried to intimidate him into letting him go, but he held on to him until the police arrived. They started threatening me, but I just stood in his face. The guy keeps saying to me, it's just a gun, let me go, let me go. I kept telling him, you're not going anywhere, he said. It don't matter, the suspect says. It matters to me, Lapierre says. It's fucking brilliant. It's like Charles Bronson walked on the train that day and this robber fucked up. He has this guy has a long history of prior arrests, including attempted robbery, battery, public indecency, and the judge has ordered him held without bond. Lapierre said he went on to run his 12th Chicago Marathon later, but also told us he's what's known in the running world as a bandit, someone who runs marathons without always registering or paying. So he just shows up and runs with them. Despite the standoff on the CTA, Lapierre says he loves Chicago. It's one of the best cities I've ever visited. Incidents happen all over. It is what it is, you know?
You know?
I love this guy. I love Lapierre, and I hope he did well in the marathon. It won't be official because you probably didn't pay for it, but or register. But good on him.
He still did it.
Yeah. And he stopped a train robbery.
Yeah, before the marathon. That probably helped him in the marathon, all that adrenaline.
Oh, you'd have to think. It's like, yeah, fuck. I just stopped a gun robbery.
Yeah.
and now I'm gonna fucking run.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
It's
That's
better
like
than any drug.
It's a good scenario.
It's a great scenario, especially if he was registered, because then maybe he would have won the fucking thing.
Yeah, and it would have been documented.
But yeah, I love stories like that, because you always hear about like these, and I know, I've never been right in any kind of situation like this, like not this seriously. I've been robbed, and I've been in situations where I don't have, the ability to stand up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been in situations where I've seen people getting mugged or beat up, and I've stepped in to help them, or I've seen a fight about to happen, and I've stepped in to help them. It just takes one person making a difference,
Yes.
and you can stop chaos. I don't know why you were laughing at me helping someone on the fucking street. That's like rude.
No, because I was just thinking of you helping like women not get raped in the park and how that turned out.
Oh, yeah. They yelled at me, but,
Yeah.
Well, I think there was one of the previous podcasts was talking about how I helped a prostitute one night walking home when I was walking up Bank Street. And she ended up be like, hey, you want a good time? It's like, whatever. Didn't even offer me a fucking discount. I'm like, man, I just saved you from being raped, and you're not even going to give me a discount? Go get the fuck out of here. But it's like you see these mass shootings or these mass stabbings, and it's like, it just takes one person to stop a calamity.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what if there was 5 or 10 people that thought like that?
Yes.
Someone's going to get hurt, but someone's going to get hurt no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of, are you willing to get hurt for the right reasons?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd rather get hurt running towards the issue than away from the issue, depending on the issue, right? If someone's there with an automatic rifle, I'm not going to take my chances. I'm going to try and hide and run the fuck away. I'm not saying like I'm a fucking hero.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a guy with a knife, I may consider my options.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation. If there's a guy with like a handgun and I see his fingers not on the trigger, there may be an option.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think if people had more of that, and it could also be that I listen to too much history podcasts. So I'm going by that like old world bravado.
Well, I think what you're describing is that everyone living in a community, and we don't do that anymore.
But I think if more people did that, there'd be less of this crime.
Yes,
because they would have that feeling like, oh, if I do this, people are going to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
But like, for example, I was talking about on a previous podcast where I stopped that kid from getting jumped, and there's 2 guys beating him up on the street. The people were walking by. No one was stopping. That was the only reason. I'm not a big individual. I could have very well got severely hurt that night. Mm-hmm. But like, I didn't stop I stopped them with my voice, with talking.
Yeah.
But still, it's no one. They just walked by. I've been jumped and people just walked by. No one's helped. It doesn't make any sense. And I think if more people were just, put yourself in a little bit of harm's way, one, it's going to do good for you personally, internally, mentally, physically. But 2, it's going to do amazing things for society as a whole and the community that you live in. It's going to make a way safer place. Because if one person steps up, it's going to make it a lot easier for another person or another person and another person to step up.
Well, and that goes back to looking at how we're fake connecting with each other, right? So we're texting each other, we're, Facebooking each other, or finding out about each other's lives on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. So there's no need for that external connectedness anymore. So that's why I think people, oh, that guy's getting jumped, but I'm not going to help him and probably the thought doesn't go through their head right away, but because then I'll just do a GoFundMe when I get home. Like, I'll help that way.
Yeah, but I mean, so that's an extreme example. When I was in Toronto last, there was I don't know what the right term is to use anymore. He was disabled, handicapped man. He had like a weird walk. He had just with the canes, and he was carrying stuff, and he fell on the sidewalk. And I'm not kidding. At least 8 people walked by. I was the only one that stopped to help him up. When I stopped to help him up, someone else stopped and helped him up as well. But it wasn't until I stopped that someone else felt, I guess, shamed into stopping as well, because no one else fucking did.
Yeah.
Like, it was sickening. Like, why not help this person?
Well, because
and there's no risk to you to help that person. Maybe I can understand the physical violence, but this person.
Well, we're scared now too, because then we hear about people helping people, and that person sues them, or they've helped them in the wrong way, or they said the wrong term, so then that person becomes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think we're just living in a world where, again, it goes back to community, where people don't feel a responsibility for everyone's well-being anymore. Everyone just thinks of themselves
or their tribe. So
or their tribe. Exactly. I mean,
which is completely different than a community. Like, I don't want people to get confused, be like, well, you're saying this and you're just meaning that. No, it's like when we talk about like a community, like where you live, like your actual physical community with your neighbors and your people from different tribes, because we're all tribal now. Whether, and you saw it on election night with like, oh, I'm a liberal, I'm an NDP, I'm a conservative, and there's no working with the other person. There's no, because that's working with a different tribe. You're crossing boundaries, the women versus men, the LGBT versus everybody. Like, it's all fucking tribes. Those are our tribes. It's toxic. But when we're talking about communities, we're talking about the places we live where we can actually feel safe at night to go outside, by just making a difference by, stepping up, standing up for your fellow man and woman and however you identify.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, I remember being a kid and everyone in the neighborhood or the community knew whose kid I was, and I'd bike to the library and they know, and now, I mean. Oh,
my neighborhood wasn't like that. I got beat up a lot in my neighborhood growing up, but it was very urban and it wasn't encouraged. Like that wasn't. It wasn't. That sense of community wasn't. There was more tribalism growing up in like around the projects than there were perhaps in like the suburbs or other areas or rural communities. Right.
I'm more small town, right? Not Ottawa born.
But even in, there's like large parts of Ottawa where people grew up here their entire lives, and I tell them my experiences, and like, never in Ottawa. And I'm like, no, there was some fucked up shit that happened in my neighborhood growing up that like you wouldn't expect.
Right.
But that was just like, that one little swath, that one little area. But yeah, I don't know. We need to like be more community oriented, but everyone's so big world oriented, right? Like, oh, this is big, but like. It's like my problem when with trying to do whatever it is, comedy or these podcasts or write a book or whatever. So my aspirations are so big sometimes, right? And I have this like, oh, I'm gonna create this late night show, or I'm gonna do this thing, and like, I don't think about all the steps that you should probably take before you get to that spot, right? And so I aim for the big thing, but then I miss out, and then the big thing doesn't happen, or it happens very poorly, or it sucks. Where if you took the right steps and not methodically, but periodically move your way to where you want to go, then you're going to make a difference, right? So you want to save the environment. Well, then clean up the environment in your community. Like, I'm going to give my hats off to the Ottawa comedy community. I don't remember everyone that was involved. I think Heather Hurst was there. Souza, I don't remember your first name. I'm sorry, dude. I know you're a comic. And a few other comics in the city went and cleaned up around the market. There's like a community. Not the Wellington area, the Wellington neighborhood, I believe. But they just cleaned up trash, a bunch of garbage bags. They have this like community outreach group to keep things clean. They're going to do it again in the spring. And doing stuff like that matters. Because that's going to make a difference. And then if this community does that, and that bleeds to the next community, because they see how nice that community is, and yada yada yada, then we're gonna make a fucking difference. Christian Souza, there's his name. So like that's awesome. Like, that's how you make a difference. That, and you stand up for people when you see injustice.
Yes, agreed. Alrighty.
There we go. And speaking of injustice, this is a story from Islamabad, I believe. Pakistan. Yeah, Islamabad, Pakistan. And at first when I read the headline, I thought it was Texas.
Okay.
Man sets pet lion on electrician who tried to collect pay. So an electrician was trying to collect his pay, and then the man set his pet lion on him. Like, no, you can't get your pay. Here's my lion.
Okay. Who... What? Like, did the electrician or did the lion owner want this story written?
I'm assuming the news got a hold of it. I'll read the story.
It just seems like a very small thing for the news to get a hold of.
Well, not every day someone sicks a lion on an electrician.
Yeah, I just were neighbors watching and...
Well, let's read the story.
Okay.
The caretaker of a Pakistani house of worship unleashed his pet lion on an electrician who was trying to collect late payment, local police say. The incident happened in an area of Punjab province called Saharda. In early September, local police told CNN. So CNN was on the case.
Okay.
Police said the electrician visited the house of worship multiple times because his wages were overdue, and eventually got into a heated debate with the caretaker, who then used his pet lion to attack the man. Authorities say the victim did not initially file a police report because the caretaker promised to get him treatment and pay him compensation. A month passed and the caretaker received neither, so he decided to file a police report. The caretaker has since been arrested. Police did not say whether the man had a license to own a pet lion or if the lion is still being cared for by the individual or if it had been moved to a zoo.
Let's hope it didn't get moved to a zoo.
Yeah, let's hope not. Oh, maybe I don't know where. That's Asia, eh? The Lion Whisperer. That's where you got to send these lions. He takes care of good lions. Yeah, that's fucking hilarious. So when I read this, I honestly thought it was Texas because there are more lions in captivity in Texas than there are in the wild, which is really fucked up. And I thought, if anyone is going to release a lion on someone, it's going to be someone in Texas or Florida if they had a lion in Florida. But no, this was in the Punjab province and it was at a fucking holy place. So I guess I don't know what religion, they don't say, but I would assume that maybe the caretaker's logic was, I'm not sinning if the lion does it.
Right. But then he would have had to train the lion.
To sick people?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lion.
Well.
How much training do you have to train a lion to just attack? Hey, you know when I said you can't eat people? You can eat that man. The lion's like, oh, fucking right. I've been waiting my entire life for this. Ah!
Yeah.
It's a fucking lion, Katie.
Well, he knows not to eat the owner, is all I'm saying.
Though, on the flip side, again, I don't have this article, so the link won't be in the description, but I read one this week that I probably should have kept down. That, or maybe this was one that we did on the podcast, but the man who tried to kill himself with a lion.
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. So there's a man, I think it was in, might have been in India, might have been in Africa. I forget exactly where, but it was a captive lion. It was in a pen. And this man jumped into the lion pen and started taunting the lion. Up close, hey, lion, fuck you. And then was eat me, eat me, eat me. And the lion's just looking at him I'm not going to fucking eat you. I'm not going to do this. Then the man lied down in front of the lion, basically showed him his belly.
Yeah.
And, got into the prone position, a lion's ideal meal. And was come on, let's fucking do it. And the lion was I'm not fucking doing this. This is a trap. This is there's something I bet you that lion had seen what happened to the gorilla in California when the kid fell into the pen and they shot the gorilla. Yeah. He's I'm not fucking doing this. I like my life. I get fed every day. They bring me the meals. They brush my hair. I'm not going to fucking eat you. Get the fuck out of here. And then the zoo ended up tranking the lion and getting the guy out. And so no one died, right? But it was just fucking amazing. Someone that wants to die by a lion and the lion's no. This is a trap. There's
lying there rubbing barbecue sauce on his stomach,
basting himself. Yeah. I picture. Remember the Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly where I got that from. Yeah, or he takes a knife and just cuts himself a little bit just so he gets the scent of blood.
The blood. Yeah. But this lion was not fucking having it. So my theory is he saw what happened to the gorilla, and was I ain't fucking.
So did he want was that his suicide plan?
Yeah, as far as what the article had said, is that he was in there. It was how people want to do suicide by cop?
Yeah.
That was essentially what he was going for, but by lion.
Well, maybe he thought though, spiritually he'd live on in the lion.
No, I think I honestly think because I've given this some thought, right, Katie? Because obviously I have jokes about being dead, right? Oh, that one didn't go in here. Speaking of being dead, I have another story, but it's not on here. If you're going to go, and you're going to go, right? I got terminal cancer. I got a week to fucking live. I've said all my love yous. I said all my goodbyes. I've done all my bucket list. How am I going to go out? I now have options. Because now I don't want to just die in a fucking bed. Are you kidding me? No. I want to be eaten by a fucking lion. or something. Like, throw me to a fucking polar bear. Let him tear me the shit apart. Like, let's feed the fucking wildlife or something. I don't know. Like, how great of a story would that be? Like, let's say this man has children. Hope not, because that's fucked up. But let's say he has family, right? And the family's like, oh, do you know Dwayne? Yeah, Dwayne was eaten by a lion. Holy fuck, this is the most famous thing any of your children have done. I know. It'd be amazing. It'd be great for Dwayne and his family.
It'd be so painful.
If I'm dying of cancer, also, you're not going to be alive long enough.
Well, what about if the lion has like remorse partway through? And it's like, what am I doing? This is Dwayne.
See, realize how I said lions? I also did say a polar bear, which I'd be less inclined to do. Feed me to a large cat because they'll go for your neck. They'll kill you, then eat you. Things like wolves, don't feed me to wolves. Wolves will eat your asshole first. You don't want that because that you feel the fucking until you pass out of pain, right? No. Feed me to lions. Fucking lions or tigers. Tigers are more vicious than lions. Feed me some fucking tigers. There you go, Katie. Now you know what to do.
What about hyenas?
No, I don't know if hyenas would tear me up. Like maybe if I was already dead, then you can throw my carcass to some hyenas. But if I'm still breathing, I don't think I want the hyenas.
Or like at the funeral service, there's a bunch of hyenas locked in a cage. Everybody goes up to you and throws their flower on you or whatever. And then like, okay, everybody behind the glass. And then someone just releases the hyenas.
Exactly.
Everyone's crying. It's like,
so
I'm not doing that, Chris.
Oh, why? We'll see. It's that or bake me in a cake and serve me. So we'll find out. But as I mentioned, right? So I thought that was hilarious because a man tried to die by lion. So I do a bit about. I'm not going to do the bit on the podcast. We're going to come out and do the show. It's still also not entirely done. The bit anyway. I do find it fascinating when people want things done after they've died, like different things. Like I cite in my bit Hunter S. Thompson, right? When he died, he wanted his remains shot out of a 21-foot cannon over his property, and Johnny Depp made that happen. It cost like $1 million or something. So there's a man, I forget where this man is from. I should make notes on these things, like little sticky notes. He's an Irish man, okay? He pranked the people at his funeral. So, should I read the article? Let me see how big this thing is. It's a long one. Okay. So basically, he who laughs last laughs best, even if it's from beyond the grave. An Irishman who died last week managed to play one final prank on friends and family at his funeral using a pre-recorded message that played shortly after his coffin was lowered into the ground.
Oh.
Let me out!
No!
Let me out! He can be heard shouting from his grave in a video posted by his daughter on Sunday. It's fucking dark in here. Can be heard saying from the sounds knocking on wood, I'm in the box. I'm in the box. Mourners can be seen cracking up as Bradley complains about his final resting place in occasionally vulgar terms. Is that the priest I can hear? Let me out. Let me the fuck out. The minute-long message ends with Bradley singing a tune from the U.S. country singer Larry Boone, just called to say goodbye. Bradley, 62, was a father, grandfather, and veteran of the Irish Defence Force who died on October 8th in Ireland, according to his obituary. His family members said it was a fitting end for a fun-loving man. All he ever wanted to do was make people laugh and smile. I'm getting goosebumps reading this because I think it's so beautiful. And that's exactly what he got, said his granddaughter. His daughter, Andrea, also celebrated his final prank in a series of tweets. He had a bigger-than-life personality and wanted to make us all laugh instead of mourn when we were leaving the cemetery. That's what she tweeted. She added that the message played from a speaker near his grave, not from inside the coffin itself. That's amazing. So, I hope. You know what? I don't believe in an afterlife, but I guarantee you he's resting in peace.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's fucking amazing. Here's you can get a photo of the man just so you can see him. I appreciate that to a large degree. He
looks like he would have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like a lot of it's funny. I might be fucked up. I occasionally watch eulogies on YouTube. Because there are some brilliant ones out there. And the Monty Python guys, I'm blanking on the name of the fucking video right now. Anyway, is one of the funniest eulogies ever seen. He has the entire church laughing in hysterics reading this. So when I saw this, I'm like, that's how you celebrate the end of life, right? Like, it's fucking brilliant. Anyway, brilliant. So from something super brilliant to one of the stupidest things I've seen in the recentest while. We might not need to get into the whole article here, but man with his name tattooed on his throat arrested for giving a fake name.
Oh.
An Illinois man was arrested for allegedly giving police a fake name despite having his name tattooed on his neck. Police were investigating a forgery case when Matthew Bushman of Mansfield gave officers a false name and date of birth to dodge an existing warrant for his arrest. But police were likely given pause by the 36-year-old's choice of tattoo. The police mugshot shows Matty B tattooed across his throat. So that's the whole story.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Fucking stupidity. It's like the guy who was rapping about murdering his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then, so like on the similar vein, reporter who exposed racist tweets no longer at the paper after readers revealed his racist tweets. Like, come on, right? Like,
so he just started tweeting and then people were writing into the paper, or
no? Okay, so reporter exposed. So there's this guy, Carson King or whatever. He is he started some campaign with the Bush Beer Company, and then they found out that this guy Carson had some racist tweets back in the day, right? From 2012.
Okay.
And then so they exposed him. So he's 24 years old now. So in 2012 he was young, right? He was not an adult, not fully developed. So this guy ruined. So he had like this promotional campaign with Anheuser-Busch to raise a bunch of money for some charity, and they've scrapped it. They don't want anything to do with this kid anymore because this whole thing. And then I think it was like a day after the fucking report came out, a bunch of people on Twitter were like, "Yeah, do you see all the fucked up shit you tweeted like back in the day?" And then he got fired.
Oh.
So I think that was just, you don't hear about it very often, where like people go out and they attack people and they ruin them for shit from the past, right? And for them to like, for someone to do that, for someone to like virtue signal like that and be like, "Oh no, this guy's a racist," and then find out that, "Oh no, you are also right."
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, neither of them are racist.
Yeah.
Right? They said something that was fucked up, maybe off color, trying to make a joke, didn't come out the right way. But now they're both ruined. So I don't know. I like that justice for that reporter. I feel bad for the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he clearly was not an adult when so he was 18, they say. So he was just an adult. But even then, you know, like, you can't hold me to account for things I said when I was 18 years old.
No, and I think even if he said it when he was older, it wouldn't matter. I mean, as long as he's not saying it, like you said, you don't think he's racist. Maybe he just said a few things. Like, I'm sure I've said things that are racist. I'm not racist, though.
No. I totally agree. Sorry, I was just looking at this because the reporter was like, "They set my life on fire because of this, because I called this guy out." And I was like, well, it's hypocrisy, right? Like, there needs to be, you know, like some sort of like journalistic standard where they go, okay, past a certain point, like, I'm not condoning murder, rape, or torture, or any kind of like gross physical harm. Like, oh, it was in the past, so it doesn't count. I was a different person than I am now. I shouldn't have to pay for my crimes. I'm not saying that. But like thoughts, words, ideas, all these things evolve, right? So like a person who they were when they were younger, like, I forget what grade I was in. I know I was in Catholic school. I told the teacher that I don't think I could be friends with a gay person. I was pretty young. And even being in Catholic school, she was like kind of taken aback by it. And it was like, why not? And I was like, I just couldn't see it, right? But like, they didn't care because it was a Catholic school. Right? Fast forward, my mom left my dad for a woman. I still loved my mother.
Yes.
I had a gay guy live in my closet. I loved Dixon, not like a lover, but like as a friend, you know, like he was a good friend of mine. I love gay people. Like I have no problems with gay people. But at one point in my life, I said, I don't think I could be friends with a gay person. Should I be held to that account because I was like in grade 6 or 7, you know?
Yeah.
No,
No.
I shouldn't at all.
The gay guy living in your closet, his name was Dixon?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't want to give his full name, but his full name is even funnier.
You can tell me after.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. Yeah. So this is poetic justice, but I think on both sides, I don't think this reporter should have lost his job. And I don't think that reporter should have called this guy out on things he said, 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, if it was, there needs to be like a 2 to 3 year threshold or something like that. Like we need to figure out how long it takes for ideas and opinions to evolve and change, and then whatever that time frame is. But even then, if it's something someone said, it's hard if there's not actions to back it up.
Well, and I think your ideas and opinions are always evolving and changing. I mean, I know I don't necessarily have the same opinions and ideas about stuff that I had even 2-3 years ago, because I meet different people, I get different perspectives, I engage in different forms of education, podcasts or books or information that's, credible off the internet.
Yep.
So, and I think too, with technology now, we have to realize that people's ideas and opinions are going to always evolve and change because we are globally connected. It's not just our neighbors' opinions, it's not just our small communities, it's people on a global scale. So we're being influenced in ways that, we've never been before.
But you got to be careful, Katie. There's a fine line between influence and cultural appropriation. Okay, so that's all I want to say. Just be careful. Being white people, we got to really watch out.
Well, and I think that's what people need to understand. Speaking of that, is that if we're going to be influenced in all these different ways and be exposed to things on a global level, there's going to be some fucking cultural inappropriation.
Inappropriation?
Yeah.
I just think it's inappropriate. But it's cultural appropriation.
Sorry. Whatever, mine's better. It's inappropriate to be appropriated.
Yes.
But there's going to be a learning curve, and nobody's allowed that learning curve anymore.
No. I was, you know what? I've been thinking a lot about this recently, and today specifically, because I listened to this whole podcast series about the dark web on Audible. I highly recommend it. Then I listened to the podcast with Edward Snowden and Joe Rogan, and I started listening to Edward Snowden's book. And I'm like, and then I did Publicly Shamed by John Ronson. I read that one recently as well again. And I'm like, what is it? Why don't we have that, one, road to forgiveness, two, why is everyone so quick to react? Because, this is new. This is like, I didn't necessarily grow up with that. I didn't see it maybe until later high school, after high school, right? Like not to the level that it is today. And I mean, my theory is it's computers. It's technology. It's the internet. And it's not social media. It's not. It's the base technology itself. It's the speed that we can get everything at now.
Yes.
And the everything has to be instant. Everything has to be quick. We always need a result. This is why we binge watch shows. Like I start watching a program, I need to know how it ends.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll watch it all. And then
you never had that ability before.
Yeah, but you never had that desire before. Right? That you never needed to know how it all ended right away. You were able to wait a week. You were satisfied with that half an hour program that you got, and then that you went on about your day. Right? But now that half an hour program is not enough, you need the whole fucking thing. You need the shows to tie into the movies and then tie into the thing, and you need your own fucking platform for it, and you got to pay all this money so you can get in and you can be all part of this thing, and it's fucking amazing, but Jesus Christ, it's wasting so much of our fucking time.
Well, and I mean, even think about the conversations that you have about shows with people now. Like, I remember being younger and, like, I don't know, 16 or something, maybe younger than that. And, you watch Family Matters, let's say. And then you talk about it for a week with your friends at school or like your family. That's like one of the topics, right? And now it's like, oh, did you see this on Netflix? No, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Or like, what episode are you on? And you're not on the same episode. So that.
Oh, really? You haven't seen that yet?
Yeah. Like there's just so many things now where we're not.
But it's because we want it all in an instant, right? So when there's an injustice or a perceived injustice, we want it resolved now.
Yes.
No. That he wore blackface. He wore black, no context. We don't need any context. He was bad.
Yeah.
Should not. Well, he was still elected, but bad man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, why don't we ask some questions? Like, why not? But it's we need it fast. We need it now. We need it now. So it's like that judge, jury, and executioner is gone from like, 3 different departments to like one person again.
Yes.
Where it's like, nope, nah, we're going to end this.
And I mean, it's even conversations that I'm having with my 10-year-old. I mean, because he's on, things where you can post pictures or videos or things like that. And it's having that conversation that, buddy, whatever you want to be in, it's like I've got to pre-warn him on how to worry about someone going back in his life and digging up something and him not getting a job or getting to do something because of something that he did when he didn't understand it was something. Does that make sense? Like I
would honestly encourage him taking on a stage name on the internet.
Yeah.
Or like a
different persona.
A different handle. Yeah. It's something I wish I did from the get-go.
Because I mean, I got to talk to him about like safety. Like, you don't talk to strangers on your video game. And, if someone asks you questions that are specific, like you can tell people you're from Canada, but you don't tell them anything else and things like that. But now it's going beyond those rules. It's like you need to start worrying now about things you're doing because it might affect your future.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. Where, like, I don't...
Though, that being said, this actually just kind of hit... We've totally gone off on a separate tangent, but that's okay.
It's a good one.
It might be the right thing. If you, like... No, like, not what you're saying. But, I mean, I'm just thinking about this in, like, the grander scale now. So, we're teaching our kids... It's the evolution of social media and technology, because you think about when we were growing up and you start learning about swear words and everything else, and your parents teach you about when you can and can't use these words in the context and So the internet and social media happened so fast that we didn't have any time to prepare, right? So we're still kind of catching up. But how you're raising your child and teaching him, sorry, he's a great little dude. Teaching him, like, be careful what you say, because it might be used against you, because it's always going to be recorded, might eventually just make us better people online. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if we're now afraid, it's like, some of the issue I have with some of the jokes that I want to do on stage is like, if I'm afraid, I might be less inclined to say the thing. And now I don't think it's great that we're, doing things out of fear, but that's just the next stage of the evolution. And then finally it'll just be common sense not to, call for someone to be raped on the internet.
Yeah. I think too, a big part as well, and it goes with kind of the way society is going, is that my son is a white male that would be considered of privilege, and anything he does will definitely be, like a stake in him.
Yes and no. I think that's just a moment.
Well, I'm just saying, though, if we're going back to when people are 16 and tweeting stuff, imagine if my son tweeted something that was racist and he's not racist, and then that gets... Like, I'm just saying, it's...
Yeah, but your kid, and, like, I think a lot of people of his generation aren't going... Like, they're seeing us all be silly right now.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Right? And they're growing up seeing us all be really silly right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on, a few good eggs that are out there that can show these kids that we're being silly right now. And hopefully they understand that we're being silly right now. And they learn from that and better themselves. Like we're the experimental phase of our new social climate, right? And the kids, like your kid and his generation, they're going to be fine. Because you look at his classroom, it's a whole smorgasbord.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
You look at the parents; it's a whole smorgasbord of tribes, of people, right? But they all are civil and all can come together for the children, right?
Yes.
And the things that bother us and bother millennials and bother the loud yelling people that we experience today are not going to bother your kid's generation.
No.
I hope not.
No, I don't. I think you're right.
And I think, like, even the way he thinks about certain things, I'm thinking religion and whatnot, it's different than ways kids think about it today, or thought about it in our time, right?
Yeah.
So I think the millennials are fucked. And I think, a good portion of us are fucked. but I think his generation could be okay in terms like socially. I don't know about the planet or, political, economical situations, but socially, I think this will all be figured out by the time. In 10 years, when he's like coming out, his generation will be the ones to be like, okay, you know what? This is ridiculous. Someone needs to be an adult here. At least that's my pipe dream. That's me being an optimist and seeing, the few young people that I see or hear from. That would be my hope. And so like teaching them, like I said, teaching those kids, don't say, it's just like, the most simplest example would be you would teach children back in the day, you don't scream fire in a crowded theater. And we just didn't know that online, because for us, online was anonymous. And then it turned into not anonymous, and it fucked everybody up.
Yeah.
Right? It was more civil when it was all anonymous.
Yeah, because I even notice, like with the kids in his class, that a lot of them are just, like, stuff doesn't faze them in the way that it shouldn't faze them. So, a boy goes into class wearing a dress. It's like everyone's like, oh, that's a cool color. And it's nobody cares. Like, nobody says, oh, Billy's wearing a dress today. And his friends aren't like, Billy, why? Or they ask questions about it. And, they're interested in finding out about it. I remember when Graydon was in like grade 1 or something, and he wanted his toenails to be painted because he liked the color. So I painted his toenails for him, and, I was like, are you sure you want to go to school like this, buddy? And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't I?
In fairness, I also paint my toenails, and we lived together. So he had like a good reason.
Yes. But me, I was more worried about what would happen when he went to school and like the other boys or whatever saw it. And then the other boys came to school the next day with their toenails painted. Like, so it's just stuff that doesn't.
Well, see, me, it was like, we don't need to get into anything too personal, but with his hair issue, I instantly was afraid. And when I told my mom about it, she was the same way. She was afraid of bullies because of my experiences growing up. And when I heard that he hasn't really been bullied and like kids have been really nice about it, I was, that like filled me with hope. I was like, oh, that's really great. Like that's
like a couple of asked questions and he's explained it, and he's not the weird kid just because something is different about him.
That also being said, I'm now curious to see what it's going to be like by the time he gets to high school, because that's where things tend to change, right? Because he's still in the younger grades, so that's when kids are still innocent and have all that hope.
But I think, too, what'll be different is that, so as you're saying, there's all these groups of kids, and all these groups of kids are going to evolve through the school system together. And by the time they go off to their different high schools, because we're in a city, so you don't, everyone just doesn't go to one high school. You get to pick and choose and whatnot. These kids will still have enough of a base of self-confidence and knowing who they are and good friends that accept them, that they're not going to feel the need once they get to high school to start picking each other apart all of a sudden.
One would hope,
yes. But that's...
Because I know in my experience, it was like I went into high school hoping that, I can finally be myself because I was masquerading as someone I wasn't for years so I can blend in and get along with everybody. And then the moment I was with people that were like me and I showed my true feathers is when I started getting my ass kicked more. So it was like when I was a chameleon for 2 or 3 years, less issues. The moment I became my true colors in high school was when I had significant issues. So it's like it's a very tribal age, and we live in a tribal. So I'll be very curious to see how his generation does when he gets to high school. Yeah. But right now, I have lots of hope.
Yeah, because maybe right now they don't have to chameleon either. So then that sets a different path, right?
Well, like I didn't have to chameleon when I was in the younger grades. Like I wore like this ridiculous silk shirt, and I'd wear like fucking MC Hammer pants and pink high tops, and I thought it was the shit. And people were like, "Yeah, he's the shit." When I went to high school, and they're like, "I wasn't the shit anymore."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I think I really like his generation. Like you said, it gives me.
Well, when I know I have limited visual in it, but when I've seen him react with his friends and you see the interactions, or he even talks about his friends, it's different than how I experienced friendship growing up. It is a lot different, but it's also like there's something that's kind of like nice about it. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, it's one.
It's just different.
It's one school. It's in the suburbs. So, I don't know. We're basing it off of one school is all I'm saying.
Yeah, like he does have a shit friend, but
yeah. Although that shit friend has gotten better.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Although friends of mine that have kids at other schools, it seems to be the same. Like I get the same feeling from them. So.
Well, that's good.
Alrighty. Totally off. I don't even know what the title of that thing was. Article.
Neither do I, because I had closed the window because we had one more article. Now I don't even know if there's a point to do this article, but.
Was it about the dwarf?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the dwarf. We're talking about kids. It's close enough.
So
no.
I don't know. So I came across this story a while back, and I had thought we talked about it on the podcast. So I went through all the notes from the previous podcast to see if it was one of the articles, and I didn't recognize it. But it was about a family who rented an apartment for their child and then moved to Canada.
Okay. No, I don't think so.
So, it's a fucking... I really hope someone makes a movie out of this story because...
Or a meme.
What are you pointing at? Oh, the joint?
Yes, please.
There you go.
Thanks.
It's legal in this country for those of you listening from elsewhere. All right. So... This was like I came across this today. I read the story like a week or a month ago, like a while back. I guess it's been updated.
Apparently, this was the story they needed to follow.
Oh, once you hear about it, you're gonna want to see the movie or the miniseries or whatever, because this is fucking like you can't make this up. So, Indiana couple claims adopted daughter from the Ukraine, really an adult with dwarfism, and tried to kill the family. One more time.
Yeah.
Indiana couple claims adopted daughter from Ukraine, really adult with dwarfism, tried to kill family.
So basically a toddler-sized person tried to kill...
So they adopted what they thought was a child.
Oh, shit!
Turned out to be an adult dwarf who tried to kill them.
Oh, okay.
At least that's what they're claiming. There's a lot of fucking... So, okay. This goes into the whole thing, right? I'm hoping this goes into it. If not, I'll fill in the details. Okay. So I'll read this article, and if this article leaves some stuff out from the original article, I'll fill it in, because I know the original article pretty well. An Indiana couple says the little girl, Natalia, they adopted from Ukraine, is actually an adult with dwarfism and tried to hurt and kill them on multiple occasions. Michael Barnett said in an interview with Good Morning America. We were told by doctors, this person is a sociopath. This person is a con artist. You are all in danger. Sorry for laughing, but goddamn. Michael and his now ex-wife Christine Barnett thought they were adopting an adorable 6-year-old girl from Ukraine back in 2010. The couple is accused of neglecting their adopted daughter Natalia after court documents claim they rented an apartment for the girl in 2013 and left her there alone while they moved out of the country to Canada with the rest of her family.
Oh, yeah.
The Barnetts tell Good Morning America Natalia is not what she says she is. They claim she was an adult and that she was attempting to cause them harm. Natalia would do things like place clear thumbtacks on the stairs face up so we would walk on them and slip and injure ourselves. He said his wife discovered evidence of a monthly menstrual cycle and that Natalia, when confronted, said she did have one and that she's been hiding it from them. A 6-year-old shouldn't, well, you're a woman, you know this. Shortly after, Natalia attempted to poison Christine by pouring a bottle of Pine Sol into her coffee mug. She had attempted to kill my wife for the second time, this time by trying to pull her into an electric fence.
Jesus. The
couple tried to press charges against her, but instead she was pushed into the hospital system. Natalia suffers from a rare form of dwarfism, and Michael said they quickly noticed some suspicious behavior, including developmental changes consistent with adults. He claimed that doctors testing and even a court ruling led them to believe she was actually born in 1989. In 2012, based on evidence presented to the court, the Marion County Superior Court ruled that her birth year would be changed from 2003 to 1989, effectively changing her from 8 to 22 years old. It's still unclear exactly how old the girl is. Based on the Ukrainian birth certificate that the Barnetts were originally given at adoption, she would be about 16 years old. But if the court system's decision to change her birth was accurate, she'd be around 30. This is a nightmare for this family. Officials believe Natalia was a minor when the Barnetts moved to Canada, and they are both facing charges of neglect, including endangering a dependent's life and abandoning or cruelly confining a dependent. Michael's lawyers have filed a motion to dismiss the case based on inaccurate information. I tell you what, if this child was actually an adult masquerading, a dwarf adult masquerading as a child, I think these people were well within their rights to leave her in a hotel somewhere.
Well, they rented her an apartment.
Yeah, they paid for it. So
they paid for it.
So in the bigger story, so they moved to Canada and they paid for this apartment for years, and this dwarf, apparently a child left on her own, more than well fend for herself for however long, right? And then I guess it wasn't until this dwarf tried to commit another fraud that, they're like, where are your parents? She's like, I'm just a child. And they're like, where are your parents? And like, they left me and they moved to Canada. And it's...
So, did the dwarf come up with this plan?
I don't know. So we don't know. We don't know.
So, did she hire some fake guy to...
So here's the thing. So you have half of the court system saying, okay, she's born in 1989. She's this fucking adult, right? So when they left her, she would have been 22, not 16. Then you have another half saying, no, she's 16 when you left her, so you abandoned a child. It's neglect. You need to be fined for this. And for some reason, the two sides can't see the same evidence.
Oh.
It's like it's such a great movie, though. Wouldn't that be an amazing movie? Especially if she turned out to be like a Russian sleeper agent and she's like, I'm just a baby. And then she's like fucking murdering people late at night and back in bed. Why are you so tired for school? Oh, I had bad nightmares.
I just want her to have an illegal adoption ring where she's in it with the main guy who forges all the papers and they just keep adopting out dwarfs that look like 6-year-olds.
And what, taking the people's money?
Yeah, take over the world that way.
Take over the world?
Yeah, the world. Sure, why not? How many dwarfs are there in the world?
I don't think enough.
Not to take over, eh?
No.
Well, they could be like dwarf ninjas or something. They just kill people.
Do you know
they try and get adopted by...
Do you know what would happen, right? There's so I'm not a scientist, nor do I, know history that well.
You just know the gruesome stuff.
Yeah. But I also know... So when Homo sapiens were, evolving, and we had there was, at one point there was 6 or 7 different forms of humanoid type creatures on this planet, right? One of them was these little dwarf type hobbit people, and they existed up to a point where Homo sapien Neanderthals existed, and the Homo sapien Neanderthals hunted those little fuckers. I'm just saying, dwarfs hunted them to extinction. So dwarfs don't stand a chance. I'm not trying to put down dwarfs. All the power to dwarfs. My history. I'm all for little people, but they're not taking over the world. That's all I'm saying.
No, okay.
I could probably end one with my foot.
So my okay. Well, then my new movie premise is that. It's an illegal adoption ring that she's in with the main guy that does all the adoption paper, but they make sure that these babies get adopted out to really bad people that do bad things, but in secret they're ninja dwarfs, and when they get adopted out, they murder all these people, but they're actually doing a good thing.
So vigilante dwarfs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
That's my movie.
That should be a series of comic books.
Or a series of comic books. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that. Absolutely. Vigilante dwarfs going to murder. Let's say these people abuse children.
Yeah.
And they figure out that they abuse children. They're okay, we're going to have these 6-year-olds, quote unquote, and we're going to throw them at these pedophiles, and then they're just going to fucking murder them. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
See, this fucking story has movie potential. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
If anyone listens to this podcast, someone's listening to this podcast right now in San Jose. If you have any type of movie connections, you got to get on this, my friend. I don't care. Maybe give me a shout out, but or give us a shout out. You don't have to whatever. Just make this movie happen. I'll pay to see it.
Yeah.
And if you don't work in the movie industry, I'm sorry. That's very ignorant of me. You're in California, and I'm just making assumptions. I'm still trying to figure out who you are. I know that was a creepy thing to say.
Yeah.
Anyway. Thank you for listening. Continue listening. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. We went all over the place again. This is what we tend to do.
But we ended with Ninja Dwarves.
We ended with Ninja Dwarves, which is Vigilante Ninja Dwarves.
Yes, Vigilante. That's very important.
Vigilante Ninja Dwarves. Heroes half size.
No, so that's the thing, is that it's got to be done in like an 80s cheesy way.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. Ninja Turtles, but like,
Yeah, but like horror movie 80s, not cartoon 80s.
All right, we'll get on the phone. We'll get like Francis Ford Coppola on this or something. Martin Scorsese. I'm sure they'd die on this. They love it. They hate the Marvel movies. They'll want to do something that's superhero but tasteful.
Ninja Dwarfs.
Vigilante Ninja Dwarves. It's a great name for a band.
Oh, it is.
The Vigilante Ninja Dwarves. It's like a ska band. Like just like 21 of them on stage. All playing a different instrument.
One guy just drinking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's got a big beard.
Yeah.
Dopey.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you want to follow the Foolish Canuck podcast, you can do so on Twitter at Foolish Canuck. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/Foolish Canuck. Like the page. We're going to create a group. And when we do, send us the questions on the group. Also, send us questions on fucking the tweet thing, the Twitter.
Twitter.
Anything. You have a news article that you come across. You're like, hey, I'd like to get Chris and Katie's opinion on this. Fire it off. Send us a link on Twitter or go to the website, foolishcanuck.com. Hit the contact page. Let us know what you think. Just say hello. That'd be nice too. You appreciate the podcast? Like it. Share it with your friends. Go to iTunes. Leave a review. It would be, very helpful for us trying to grow the audience. If you really want to support, go to the website. On the bottom of the page, there's a little link there. Click on it. There's a whole list of things you can do to support the podcast, from, like I said, sharing videos, sharing episodes, liking episodes, sharing the podcast itself, talking about it on your podcasts, writing about it in your blogs, whatever. Help us out. And if you're rich or you're well off, you got a few bucks in your pocket, and you're like, you know what? This guy shouldn't flip burgers anymore. Donate a couple bucks. There's ways to do that on the support page as well. You can join us on Patreon or just fucking donate through PayPal. However you feel like doing it. No, you don't have to, though. Like, don't feel obligated. But yeah, whatever it is. Thanks for listening. If you just keep listening, much love. I hope all the best for you. And let's hope, Katie, someone makes this fucking Vigilante Ninja Dwarf movie, because
Yep.
I think it'd be something. I think this might be a Seth Rogen film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see working with Seth.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
It'd
we're
be
Canadian.
Nice. We're Canadian.
He's a foolish Canuck, and
He'd
so
come
are we.
with that other guy and that other guy.
Yes, the other guys. All right, everybody. Have a great week. We may talk to you before next week. If not, I hope you have a great weekend. Everything goes the way you want it to go. Much love. Bye-bye. You can say bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.